It's the Friendly Fire Show for the start of August. It's episode number 144. I'm Stevivor editor-in-chief Steve Wright.
I am Ben from Stevivor.
And hey man, we haven't talked in a while because there's been nothing to talk about.
No, well, we only skipped one episode essentially because no games came out. So what else could we do?
Yeah, well, and it's getting better, thankfully. There's a couple things we can talk about after delaying a week. And I didn't do the standard what's coming next month post at the end of July. I'll do it at the start of August, I guess. There's a ton of stuff coming in August, kind of near the end of the month though. So
it's a big end of the month. You've got Control, and what else is the end of the month?
The Dark Pictures anthology Man of Medan.
Yes.
And Blair Witch.
That's right.
And I'm excited about all three of those. They're all it's like three games in the horror genre, all coming out in the late August period. But I'm happy. They all are like my favorite things. So,
well, I'm going to play two of those at least. I think three might be a bit much. I'm not really a Blair Witch guy, but I'll play the other two.
You're going to skip Blair Witch. Fair enough. Yep. But we don't have anything to say about those because that's not this month. But we have played games. I'll start because I know that you've played this one too. You and I played co-op for a bit at least of Wolfenstein Youngblood, which I don't like.
Co-op only Wolfenstein. And what confused the hell out of me is there's a VR Wolfenstein game which launched with it, which is is that a separate game or something?
Yeah, it's called Cyberpilot.
It's Cyberpilot. I thought it was a mode of this game, but it seems to be a separate thing. I don't understand what that is.
Yeah, we got offered a Cyberpilot review code 2 days before launch, and I said, I'm more concerned about Youngblood, thanks. And we got that a whopping 1 day before launch. So it's kind of clear that Bethesda wasn't too keen on either of these releases, I don't think.
Well, they've slotted it in the July window, which is often not strong games. But it's getting mixed reviews. So I think we saw their level designer or something tweeted out saying mixed reviews, pretty good. That's what I expected. So some good, some bad. That's what the people who made this game expected.
Set your hopes high and your expectations very low and see what happens. Like so I don't know if you played anymore. We played co-op for a little while and then I played single player to kind of finish off the game so I could write the review. In my general experience, co-op was not hard so much as frustrating because enemies are just bullet sponges. Checkpoints are few and far between, and you have to just continually go all the way through a level to get to the end or exit point. And then if you finish it, you got to go all the way back. And then you got to do that in the overworld as well. So it's just like a slog through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then single player is easy. Yeah. I don't know. So let's talk about the co-op experience first. I think I kind of summed it up, to be honest. Anything you wanted to add?
Well, the checkpoint doesn't make any sense to me. We had to keep doing the same bit over and over, which was our own fault because what it wants you to do is one player to kind of play more aggressively and the other one to revive when you stuff up. And we both stuffed up at the same time pretty much every time, so neither of us could revive. But then it kind of boxed us in a few times where the enemies knew exactly where we were and we couldn't go anywhere. So the person who came to revive, actually, it was like a death sentence, basically. And then it would send us back half an hour. So that was really weird. Well, in single player, your AI partner is basically invulnerable. So you never have that issue. If you get downed, you just mash the A button and she'll come and save you. And she's never died trying to save me at any point. So that's a part of it being way too easy. When we were playing co-op though, because we were playing co-op the way that we do, we just kind of go off and do our own thing and talk shit about the game. Not correct.
But there were times
we don't play very well.
There were times when an enemy would just automatically, or not automatically, instantaneously just pop in front of me because you must have gone to a certain point somewhere in the level and triggered new enemies to spawn or something. And I think the same thing happened to you. And it's that's not something that should happen in a 2019 game.
Well, that split us up quite a lot because there would be a time where you'd run ahead and I was looking at something back, and then between us, enemies would spawn because you've obviously triggered them because you've gone past, but they're not meant to be there yet for me. And then we couldn't get back together because there was different waves of enemies kind of attacking us. So, yeah, that was our own fault, though. We're not playing correctly.
Well, from what you just said, it's my fault, but that's fine. I'll take the blame.
Okay.
That's cool.
I'm thinking about one time that happened. So it didn't happen a lot. Just one time.
No, it's likely my fault. That's fine. It's the thing that also annoys me, and it's like such a stupid like criticism, but like, why have the Nazis all of a sudden made all of these door switches and devices that require like two people to pull a thing at the same time? Whereas like in any other Wolfenstein game, it's just like a button that BJ presses.
It's a co-op game.
I know it's stupid. Why. Well, but like, blech. I have no idea what to say about the story because the sisters are boring. There's too many characters that I just don't know about or enough of to care. And the same thing goes for the sisters. It's just like I was skipping cutscenes. It's pretty much straight into the
at all
game.
About that. And the biggest problem I have, I think the level design is quite poor. Or the mission design, rather, because you'd have to go back to your little hub world, which it didn't tell you to do. And this is a game which inundates you with tutorials. So many things we ran into. It's like, this is how you get your weapon. Well, this is how you do this. It never told us how to really do missions. So we just figured that out. And you keep having to go to the underground to use that map as a fast travel. But then you just have to run to a different door and fast travel somewhere else. And you have to run past 50 enemies on the way. Because what's the point in killing them? Because they'll respawn again straight away. But it's not clear where to go. There were a few times where one of us found it, the other one didn't, then we didn't know how to get back. And it was kind of like, why can't I go to this door and start this mission straight away? Why do I have to run through this stupid hub world?
And because we didn't go to the hub world, we encountered like the RPG elements in the worst way possible because we weren't doing the side missions that we needed to level up our characters. So we went to a mission where like just every enemy had a red skull instead of a level number. So it's like, well, we're going to die.
I really don't like that in any game where it's, you've done 3 or 4 main missions or however many, but now you need to do side missions because you're underpowered for the next main mission. No, just let me play through it how I want to play through it, especially an action game like this. Don't make me do the optional stuff.
Yeah, the RPG bit with the guns is cool because you can kind of customize the gun to suit however you want to play. And you can spend money and put all these different attachments on the gun so it like behaves or performs in an entirely different manner, which is cool. But like having enemies with level numbers and having your characters with level numbers and like trying to match weapons to shields to break them down easy. Like, it's just like, I don't want any of that stuff. I just want to have a shotgun. I want to shoot a Nazi in the face. That's basically it.
Well, and it doesn't work in a co-op game because, you or I would run off and be doing the mission and the other one has paused to go through this massive list of things you can unlock with your weapon or your abilities. And that doesn't make sense because one of us is ready to go and they haven't noticed the other one stopped playing for a little bit. And it's just not the right time for it. It doesn't really fit this co-op. I thought it was going to be a tight action game, but it's kind of a slow, grindy RPG co-op game.
And even in single player, offline co-op, so like you have confirmed you're playing with an AI partner and there's no way that someone can join your game, you still can't pause the game. It all keeps happening around you when you're in like the pause menu. So
very annoying.
I've tried, like I was paused it to go and do something and I came back and I was dead because everything's just going on around me. It's not great. If you're a Wolfenstein fan, maybe you'll like it. I don't know. Play it single player because it's a lot easier than trying to grab a friend and be frustrated together.
It's perfectly playable, but I think we've had a couple too many Wolfenstein spin-offs. I think the main 2 games are way better than the 2 spin-offs that have followed, and the 5th if you want to have the VR game. So they've overdone it a little bit, and I don't think we really needed this. It feels like an experiment that Bethesda got to happen by Machine Games, and I think Arcane did it as well. Just to see what they could do, if they could make a co-op game, if it could work, and then it didn't really, so potentially this was going to be a bigger game than it has become, and they just kind of made it into something based on what they have said and the little marketing it had. I don't think they really thought this was great either.
Let's continue. So something that you've played a little bit of, and something I've played a very little bit of, is the Gears of War. No, it's not called Gears of War. It's called Gears 5.
Gears war. They're not at war anymore. They're just Gears.
Nor smoking.
They were never at war. They were just of the war. Whatever that was. Anyhow, now they're just Gears. There's no war. That's it.
So Gears 5 multiplayer tech test. I played the tutorial.
Very
and
boring,
then I couldn't find a match after that. And the tutorial is like 20 minutes long. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm done.
Yeah.
So
I didn't really get why they put that in because it wasn't like we've changed everything. You need to learn everything again. It was have you played Gears of War? well, good. You're doing the tutorial. So, yeah, it was a bit strange.
Just in case. So how was an actual game? What did you play?
Just a versus match. So it was 4 or 5v5. I think there's only one map, or I only played the same map like 3 times if there is another one.
Right. Was it the new arcade mode where it's kind of like a hero shooter with people with like different abilities? No, you just like literally played a multiplayer game.
Straight up multiplayer versus. So I have actually played that survival mode at E3 briefly. Whatever that's called. What's it called? Escape or something? Or is that a different game? Anyhow,
I think
that's
right.
I think that's right too. That's not this. This is just straight up versus, which I've always thought is the weakest part of Gears of War. So if I was going to play Gears of War, I think campaign is what's really strong. Co-op campaign is where it's basically industry leader. It's why you play it. And the gameplay serves a horde mode pretty well, although I didn't like how Gears 4 kind of pushed it in the campaign. It said, we've got a great horde mode, so you have to play it during the campaign. I think we got stuck once on that when we tried to play.
We got utterly destroyed in that bit.
Yeah, I didn't really like that, but I like them as separate modes. And then you have Versus as kind of the third tier. It's kind of the add-on. I never really played it because it doesn't really suit it that well. The running awkwardly, the cover-based element, the chainsawing everyone in half, all works great against AI. Against other people, it's okay. It's kind of like the Tomb Raider or the Uncharted multiplayer mode. You kind of realize this is okay, there's something here. But after you played it 2 or 3 times, that's it, you never go back. So I know it's a tech test, but tech test these days means demo. And it's demoing the weakest part of Gears of War. So I think it was a Game Pass only thing for the first weekend, and then it became like a Games with Gold or whatever it is now thing.
Like Xbox Live Gold.
Xbox Gold, that's what I mean. So anyone could have played it at any point. I think it was okay. It felt Gears of War-y. We didn't really learn anything new, except there is no war. So the demo, the tutorial you'd have played would have been kill some bots.
Kill so many bots.
Kill a lot of bots. Here's how you throw a grenade. So yeah,
I do like Baird. He's funny, but like that only goes for so far, and that was like a 15-minute too long tutorial.
Yeah, so it was good, but it's probably one of the least exciting tech tests or whatever we call them these days, network tests that I played in a while because it's so similar and it's the weak mode. So I'm very excited for Gears 5, but not for Versus. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Well, no, and I think they were saying that kind of like hero shooter mode, arcade, I think it's called arcade, is kind of like to combat what you were saying about Versus being kind of shit. My experience with the Gears multiplayer mode is that you go in and a guy shotguns you in the face and you die. And just like repeat. So they're trying to use that arcade to change it up. But who knows if that's going to work. We'll find out.
Yeah, I know they're trying to expand it and they're trying to give it life, but Gears of War doesn't need that. It could just be a great co-op shooter, strong campaign with a horde mode, and that'd be great. But everyone wants their game to last for months instead of a few weeks. So they're adding in all these extra modes that I'm not sure we need. Personally, I really didn't like the escape mode. I only played it half a round, so I didn't get to see the whole thing, but I didn't find having no ammo in Gears of War fun at all. Literally, just running from everyone. So, yeah.
Escape. Yeah, I don't like it either. Anything else on that?
That's all I've got.
Cool. The other game I've played is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 on Nintendo Switch, which is a competent Ultimate Alliance game, but also it basically just regurgitates that formula that Activision started how many years ago, and it hasn't really evolved or progressed at all since then. The camera is absolutely shocking, which is really annoying when it's like a top-down game that can't get a camera right. It's weird. It can't deal with zooming in and zooming out, and then just kind of like gets stuck in a wall somewhere, and you're kind of screwed. But really, it's just a button masher, and that's all you do. So kind of good for the Switch because you can play it in like a 20-minute spurt and put it down and then do something else, and it's not too bad. But if you have to play it for a long period of time, it's just tedious. The only thing that's kind of good about it is there's tons of Marvel characters. If you're into that kind of thing, awesome. But as friend of the show and site, Adam Matthew Griswords, kind of captured in a YouTube video that's on the site as well. The unlocks are pretty crap. They're basically just palette swaps for your characters. So if you wanted to get like cool costumes that were honoring like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all, like, you know, the comics history, not really. You can just get like a pink version of Black Widow. So it's I don't know. It's like a phoned in kind of game that I don't think there's much more to say about it.
That's interesting because it was one of the 7 games Nintendo had at their booth at E3, and everyone I spoke to that night, you know how it is. Everyone's very excited about what you played today, and everyone loved it who played it. Now, Nintendo basically said you have an hour, so you get to play 4 of the 7 games. What do you want to play? And I didn't pick it because there were better things. But everyone else who was there said it was great. They really liked it. But I did wonder if it's because it's a type of game which is a bit different to what's on Switch, and playing it as a handheld game, it kind of works well, and maybe that's why they liked it, because it looked old to me.
Well, and they would have played it for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
one go of 20 minutes, fine. Add in 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours where you're literally just doing the same thing over and over and over. I don't know. Like, if you like Marvel stuff and you like the Ultimate, it's an Ultimate Alliance game. If you played the first 2, it's like that. So, and you can play it handheld in spurts. So if that's what you like, get it. It's not bad. It's just not good.
Okay, so we've had 3 things which we don't recommend people play, but are not bad, but it's a waste of time.
July, everybody. Back to what Ben was saying.
Bad. Yeah.
No, Anyway, let's go on to the news. All right, so the news, much like games in July, also pretty crap, Ben. So let's start with NBA Live 20 has been delayed into later in the year. So usually all the sport games from EA Sports, FIFA, Madden, NHL, and NBA come out at the latest on 30 September. But NBA is coming out between October or December, mostly because, as we've known for years, NBA Live is a dying franchise and EA doesn't know what to do with it. It's
beyond life support here because not that either of us really play it. Former podcast member Tano loved it. Actually, no, he didn't. He hated it. He loved to rag on it. But basically, the history of it is EA Sports dominates with FIFA and Madden and NHL and probably a few others I've forgotten. But 2K dominates with NBA 2K. And EA keeps trying to get that market share back, but their NBA games are terrible. And there were a few years where they just stopped. There's been a few where the game was like delayed super late, even later than this. And now to still be hanging around and being like, oh yeah, we'll come out like, you know, this is like AFL level where they're kind of like, yeah, it'll be out at some point, maybe. But it's from EA, not from some little Melbourne developer. So very embarrassing.
It feels like when Sony made those like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies because they would lose the license to Spider-Man if they didn't put out a movie. So just like, we'll just throw it out. We still have the NBA license to use next year as a result.
And then they never do anything with it.
We'll make it better next year. Well, yeah, but there you go.
Yeah.
We're flying through the news, I reckon. The Ubisoft Experience Sydney will take place the 14th and 15th of September in the University of New South Wales Roundhouse, which must just be a building. It's kind of cool. It's joining similar events in Paris, and I think there's one somewhere else that I forget about. And it's just like a cavalcade of Ubi games, including unreleased things like Beyond Good and Evil 2, Watch Dogs Legion, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Roller Champions, and classic and retro titles. Tickets are like $20, and all proceeds support the Are You OK initiative / charity. So it's kind of cool.
Well, that's very good. The charity element is great, but also I think this is the biggest gaming event in Sydney since EB Expo left. To my knowledge, there hasn't been anything this big you can go to and play pre-release games. So only one publisher, of course, but good on Ubisoft for bringing their games back to Sydney because no one else is doing it at the moment.
Yeah. And we have no official confirmation, and we're working off very, very sketchy rumors. But I hear on the grapevine that there might be a big announcement or something coming. I don't know what that is. I'm optimistic that it's kind of cool, but don't take me for my word because I don't know what I'm talking about, really. I don't know why I decided to say that out loud.
very rare that there's an announcement at an event in Australia. I don't even think PAX has had an announcement. Not anything worthwhile. Having said that, for years, rumors of a Far Cry in Australia have been persisting. I think just because to us it sounds like a good idea. I don't really know if there's any substance to that, but it would be cool if that happened. It's really hard to think of anything else that Ubisoft would ever announce here. So I'm sure they have done. I just can't think of any.
Splinter Cell set in Australia. Boom.
Now, there you go.
Definitely not going to happen.
Chris
if we're
Hemsworth
wrong, feel
is the
free.
new Sam Fisher. That's it.
That would be awesome. Moving right along, the Xbox home screen is, changed, I guess, if you're an insider in the Fast Alpha Ring, I believe. And basically all Microsoft's doing is cleaning up the dashboard. So it's basically less tiles, and they get rid of the thing along the top that lets you go between home and store and mixer and that kind of stuff. It's all kind of just off to the side.
I think it looks great.
I think it looks good
so
too.
It is kind of a big change because only in the last maybe 2 updates ago, they change it quite often compared to everyone else, but only fairly recently they've made it more of a vertical menu where you kind of go down, and that's where you have all your groups and your pins and stuff. Previously, it used to be very horizontal, so lots of scrolling, and the scrolling's still there to get across to Game Pass and Mixer and all that stuff. So it is a bit of a change to take that away. But I don't like having to go past Mixer to get to the store because I don't care about it. So to have it as a button on the home screen, it's still very easy to get to, but you can ignore it entirely now, which I really like. So I think it looks good. As long as I can get to my groups, because as you know, I've got my currently playing, I've got my backlog, and I've got my multiplayer. So I need those groups easily accessible.
I don't think I've used the Microsoft Store on Xbox in about 6 months, because I either just go to my laptop and use the Microsoft Store from a browser, or I use my phone Xbox app and just look through that. So that's really just an observation. I don't have anything else to say about that. The other cool change with this update is that I don't know if it's cool, but Microsoft has taken away the ability to talk to the Cortana assistant through like a headset. They've changed that to be more like the Alexa Xbox skill. So you have to use like a phone app with Cortana, like a Cortana phone app, there we go, to issue commands, like you could grab an Alexa Amazon Dot or whatever and issue commands through that. So it's not a huge deal. I don't think anybody really uses the voice commands too much.
I don't think anyone uses that. I know you used to back in 2014 when Connect was a thing still.
Yeah, I loved it.
But back then it didn't understand me because they hadn't added the Australian recognition until about 2016. So it never really worked. And it took longer for me, so I never got into it. Also, I unplugged Connect in about 2015. So
once you're used to not using the commands and you just do like the double, like your muscle memory is doing it on the controller, like you don't need to do it via voice command. It's just
the only thing it was ever good for was, and we always come back to this, before they added double tap Y for screenshot, the only way to do it for a little while was, hey, Xbox, take a screenshot or whatever you had to say. And by the time you said it, whatever you're trying to take your screenshot of was well past. So that didn't work. I think it's one tap Y actually. I think I lie. They've tightened that up. Yeah, I don't use any of that. I'm not in the Insider program anymore. I used to be. I'm not sure if you are, but I was in that early days when it first started, and in the top ring, so I'd get the first ever update, and they would never work initially, and that's what it is. It's a test. So I realized a couple of years ago, I don't want to be a guinea pig. Just give me the update when it's done, and it's much better for me.
I dropped out because it kept screwing up because most of my games are digital. It kept like interfering with some sort of handshake to tell Microsoft that I owned the game so I could play it, so it wouldn't launch. And as soon as I got out of the rings, it was fine.
But we thank you, testers. Good work testing the update, so when I get it now, it works fine.
Way to cop all the shit so we don't. Moving on, GTA Online. I haven't played it. I think it's in Australia. There's a number of countries where it's not because of obvious reasons that you'll understand in a minute. A new update opened up the Diamond Casino and Resort is what it's called, and it lets you spend real world money to buy microtransactions that give you in-game money You can use the in-game money to buy chips at the casino and play slot machines, blackjack, poker, and roulette. So you're literally able to spend real-world money and gamble. Not that you get real-world money back when you successfully gamble. It's all in-game stuff that you either win or lose, and it's just weird.
That is weird. It would be
like, what else to say?
Well, I'm just thinking about what you said just then. It would be if you could cash back out into the real world from your in-game winnings, then that would be great. No one would complain about this then. That's all on you. But you can't do that. I think you're right. A few countries banned it straight out, or they'd already banned microtransactions for GTA. Australia, I'm actually not sure. I don't think we know about it. So, as you would know, the Australian Classification Board is not great at this type of stuff. Pretty much, if you don't tell them, they don't know about it, and then they get outraged that you didn't tell them. So, the rating on the box may have to change because of this, because of gambling, if they allow it at all. I'm really not sure.
I'm expecting something to happen, but like as an example, Poland, everything but online sports betting is illegal in terms of gambling, so it's had to be, cut out of GTA Online. Same thing for South Africa. Same thing for Luxembourg, Malta, Malaysia, Iceland, Greece. Like, there's all these countries where you're not allowed to just make a gambling video game that takes real world money unless you gamble. And I'm kind of fine with that, because we're already fighting about loot boxes being like gambling and like hitting those pleasure centers and stuff, and doing naughty things that you would hope game developers don't do. And this is like straight up gambling. So,
well, we're one of our classification board does not like a lot of things, mainly drug use. So anything with that is not getting an RAT rating. They just block it straight away. They don't seem to care as much about things like gambling. So it does get noted on the box, but they don't really seem to bother by it. Unlike those countries you just mentioned, then I think a few of those have even banned like loot boxes in something like Apex Legends, where they've said too close to gambling, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Our board doesn't care as much about that. They're more about you can't mention morphine, call it X. So yeah, different priorities.
Well, we'll see how it goes. We'll keep people updated if something changes. And Ben, we basically called it. The Switch Mini isn't called the Switch Mini, but it's the Switch Lite. And it seems like an expensive pile of garbage meant for children and not us. So there is some benefit to it, I guess. It's a smaller version.
Had overpriced.
Yeah. Smaller version of the Switch without detachable Joy-Cons. It doesn't connect to a TV. It's only in handheld mode. So you can't do tabletop or docked. It's priced at $330 Australian dollars. And it has Joy-Cons with a proper D-pad rather than a weird non-D-pad like our current Switches have.
I do like that.
Yeah, but they're not going to transition those Joy-Cons for us to use. They've said that the D-pad stays the way it is for some reason. Yeah.
Because of the weirdness of the Joy-Con. I get that.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I think it's a bit, as I said, overpriced, because you can get the normal Switch. It was on Amazon last week for $330. So, but of course, that RIP is still technically $470, and look how much down it is from that. So I think we'll see it. I think Amazon actually already taking pre-orders for about $280 or something, which is about what I thought it would cost. Because once you get down to about $250, it becomes that Christmas present mark. It's exactly like the 2DS. It's doing the same thing, plus it's replacing 3DS. So I think there is a market for it. I think not connecting to TV, I didn't expect that. I think a few episodes ago, I thought it would just not come with the dock. Yeah. But the more I think about it, it's for kids. It's kind of like, it's for that generation who's grown up with iPads, so they just have their screen in front of them. They probably don't need that docked experience. And on the flip side, they don't have a TV just to use, because mum and dad are using the TV, and previously you'd give your kids a 3DS to just, here you go, play on that. So I think that's part of the reason, and it keeps it cheaper, of course. And being a lot sturdier, it should be like 2DS, which you could just throw those things around and they were fine. So I get what they're doing. There is a market for it, I think. It's not us. But yeah, there's a space there at the right price.
Agreed. I don't have anything else to say about that, nor anything else, really. It's been a really slow period.
Oh, the only thing we've got to say is the real Switch out of this is getting a battery upgrade. So it will now last, what did they say, 7 to 9 hours? or 5 to 7 or something.
Yeah,
I can't remember the
a
numbers.
couple hours longer, even when you're playing something like as the Legend of Zelda. I was gonna say Wind Waker. That's not true. Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. I think it's not quite twice as long, but nearly.
Yeah. If you vamp for a second, I can get the actual stats because we should do that.
It doesn't matter. It's
something happened.
It's basically a big weakness of Switch at launch is the battery wasn't quite good enough, so they fixed it now 2.5 years later to the battery it should have had. My understanding from a brief look on Digital Foundry is that they think that the battery is actually the same. It's just that the new chip, which is in the Switch Lite, is now going into the regular Switch, and it's more efficient. Therefore, the battery lasts way longer.
And that makes sense.
That would make sense.
So the original Switch got between 2.5 and 6.5 hours of battery life. The Switch Lite, which is smaller, gets 3 to 7 hours, and the new version of the original Switch, which is larger than the Switch Lite, probably with the same chip, gets between 4.5 to 9. So 6.5 was the top before.
Better.
Now it's 9. Legend of Zelda, because it is so processor intense. That's a really bad way of calling it. It takes a lot of power. You'll nab around 5.5 hours playing Zelda.
That's all you need.
There you go.
Then you can charge.
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of rumors, I should say, not reports, about a Pro Switch coming as well. So this is not that. This is just the original Switch with a better battery, probably because of a more efficient chip.
Yeah.
So I think we will still get a Pro version of the Switch probably next year.
Yeah.
I think they'll do the 3DS thing where you get a new model every year from here on out.
I think so
because
too.
we're suckers and we'll buy them all.
Well, and we're used to this kind of thing with like actual consoles, like the Xbox. Well, not the Xbox and the Xbox S, but like the Xbox 360 and the Xbox 360 Slim, and the PS4 and the PS4 Slim.
Yeah.
They just, they're cheaper to make as time continues on, and there's advancements in technology, so you just kind of incorporate it into the device. It's not going to like change the processor. Yeah, exactly. So
I think people are used to buying a new iPad every 2 years, so buying a new Switch every couple of years is not out of the question.
Yeah. There you go. I have nothing else to say now officially, maybe. I said that before.
That's the end of all gaming news for the past 3 weeks, which is actually pretty fair because just nothing is happening.
Join us at the end of August where we'll talk about a whole bunch of horror games. Well, we've got a lot of stuff going on actually in the next couple of weeks. Luke is currently or is coming home from the Call of Duty Modern Warfare multiplayer reveal event. So we'll have some stuff on the site at least for you to read. I don't know if we'll try to get him on to talk about it, but he's also moving to San Francisco in the next little while, so he's probably busy. And we looked at the Outer Worlds in America. I forget when the embargo is. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be published. I don't know if there's a lot of stuff for you and I to talk about, but we'll figure it out.
We will have played little bits of all these games that Luke is seeing lots of, so that's all we have.
True. All right. Find me at SWrightAU on social media. Ben, do you want to plug any social medias?
I am Ben_Salter on Twitter. It's my social media, and you can get angry with me on there, as most people tend to do at the moment.
Yeah, well, you are a jerk. But I love you.
That is true.
Cool. Stevivor on everythingelse.com is the website. And thanks for joining us for another however long of a period we've decided to leave things.
3 weeks, 2 weeks, same thing.
Whatever. Have a good one.